Greetings, I am Ziphin from Temple of the Jedi Force. Today I am going to be giving you my interpretation of the first line of code from the Jedi Code. That is, there is no emotion, there is peace. The first thing I like to do is I like to break down the root words of anything that I study or try to learn or try to understand, just to find out if there's something maybe more meaning-wise behind what's being said. So I jumped online to Webster's dictionary, and I'm going to read to you Webster's definition of emotion, which is the affective aspect of consciousness or feeling, a state of feeling, a conscious mental reaction, as anger or fear, subjectively experienced as a strong feeling, usually directed towards a specific object and typically accompanied by psychological and behavioral changes in the body. So when a person has an emotion, that emotion doesn't just affect their personality or the way that they're behaving, but it actually physically alters your body. As an example would be fight or flight response. When faced with a situation where you feel endangered, your body, the blood rushes away from your stomach, your arms begin to tingle a little bit. Your body temperature will elevate. All of these things are very normal for your body to do. It's your body's physical reaction to the psychological that's happening. So, the second being peace. And the definition of peace being a state of tranquility or quiet, as freedom from civil disturbance, a state of security or order within a community provided by law or custom. That was the first definition. The second definition says freedom from disquieting or oppressive thoughts or emotion, harmony in personal relations. So, peace is really the quite opposite of emotion, in the aspect that your quieted thoughts, your tranquility being just how you are. So I think the idea behind the code is that it's not the literal definition like there is no emotion. It's really that we want to, as Jedi, we want to prevent the emotions that we're feeling from having the psychological trauma that prevents us from reacting, and then beyond that, the physical aspects that go along with those emotions. And in doing so, we gain the ability of being in a state of tranquility, the actual definition of peace. So we can look at this a lot of different ways. We can look at it from just like our social interactions, or we can look at it, with me being a guardian, I tend to bring it more towards the idea of a combat environment or a combat situation where in combat, if someone is pointing a gun at you, your body is going to react to that. And part of that is due to the way you train. The other part of it is due to the fact that psychologically your brain is freaking out. You're like, oh my God, I have a gun being pointed at me, or a knife, or whatever it may be. It really doesn't matter. The point is that you have to learn to control those emotions so that they don't control you. And in doing so, you become peaceful. Beyond that, as a Jedi, we are peacekeepers, right? So the idea is that we are supposed to keep the peace, and if we can't be at peace ourselves, then how can we keep the peace for others and help others keep peace? This is my first video, so please bear with me. But likewise, that same thing transcends that into our everyday lives. We interact with people all the time in daily settings, and in my job I interact with people in big meetings where there's a lot of people involved, and Yeah, despite my blue mohawk, yes. Those people don't always see eye to eye with me, and I don't always see eye to eye with them. But if I allow myself to become emotionally attached to a subject, then I I know that typically I will my voice will get elevated. I'll get a little bit excited because I really want to drive home the fact that I feel passionate about whatever this is that we're talking about, and that I don't want those people to overlook my opinion. I want those people to understand where I'm coming from and to side with me ultimately. But I can't do that if I allow my emotions to get in the way. If I can't clearly and calmly communicate what it is I want to tell them, then when those emotions kick in and I start using those emotions in my conversation, if those people don't have the same feeling about it that I do, they will start to kind of pull themselves away from the conversation. And depending on who they are, and depending on what their status is in the company, they might just tell me, we'll drop this. You need to drop this, or we'll have to figure out another solution. And then, or maybe even you need to leave. You need to leave the meeting. That has never physically happened to me, but I do know a few people who have been asked to leave meetings just because they were so emotionally attached to the topic that they couldn't convey what they wanted or needed from the other person, without yelling, or without not listening even. I've seen people get so upset that they will actually stop listening to what's being said and not hear the fact that the other person has already answered their question, or answered, solved the problem that they were having, and that person is just overly whelmed with emotions and just can't get past it. So I think the biggest goal for us as Jedi, and just as people in general, is to try and find a happy state where we feel emotion, but we understand that it's not the controlling factor in our lives, that we really should strive for being peaceful. I personally try and practice the way of peace, in my everyday life. I'm very easy to get along with. I am kind of socially reclusive. I like to hide in my shell sometimes. I'm not very outgoing. Thus, this is my first video. But I think if we, come to an understanding where we can get past the emotion and not allow it to control ourselves, physically or emotionally, or mentally is what I meant to say, then we can find peace, and that really is the ultimate goal. Everybody likes to be at peace. I've never known anyone who didn't feel good when they were at peace, or didn't enjoy being at peace. It's really the state of chaos that drives people to make rash decisions, and part of that is from not being at peace because of their emotions. So that's all I got for today. Thanks.